But we also know that Ilia Topuria has been very vocal about how he used wine literally the night before weighing in to finish cutting the rest of his weight. You think he was tripping, or he was willing for cutting weight with wine? But you think the whole like rehydration process, like the way you're intaking food, is actually more dangerous, like lethal, than actually getting down there and depleting yourself of all the water that quickly?
Well, your body's like very good at being dehydrated. There's a reason, Jesus went out to the desert for 40 days and survived.
Amen.
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 I still make weight kind of mentality, right? Like where fighters can maybe like they're like vegetarian or something. What's the biggest difference that you've noticed in athletes that follow like proper nutrition advice?
It's probably a surprising answer. And before I answer it, I'll set it up by this example, which I use with everyone.
Man, you are aligned with some of the top athletes just in the world, right? You have worked with Israel Adesanya, Kai France, Dan Hooker, Alexander Volkanovski, right? But when I was trying to understand what was like where you came from, I couldn't really like find anything. Where how did you start in this? I mean, you don't see many dietitians with cauliflower ears, so I know you train, but how did you get your start in this world of being a dietitian?
I kind of got a deep question.
Okay.
Oh,
I want to dive deep. I want to get to the root. Are you ready, Mr. Jordan?
Let's do it.
Here we go. All right, now.
All right, what is up, guys, and welcome back to a special episode, a very special episode, dare I say, of The Will versus the Way.
Yes, sir.
On episode 76 of the #1 uncensored MMA podcast. And we had a very special guest, but first brought to you by me, your host, Noah, and the casual himself, T. Will. And we're going to be talking to one of the most interesting characters and figures in all of MMA, because when we think of MMA, we think of brutal fights, we think of people inflicting damage on each other, and what we don't see is the backside of it, right? We don't get to see the hard weight cuts. We don't get to see the hard sessions and training and the things that these fighters do on a daily basis that brings us into the fight and what they train 3-4 months sometimes in order to do and compete in front of millions of people. And one of the people who gives us the most insight, in my opinion, and someone I've been watching for a while now, the Fight Dietitian, they call him Mr. Jordan Sullivan, is one of the best people at allowing you to see the way fighters fuel themselves, the way they recover, and the way they are able to give us such great fights and performances inside of the octagon. And he's building a massive community of people who are passionate about the science of the sport. Mr. Jordan Sullivan, how are you doing today?
Jens, thanks so much. Very good. Very good. If you hear a dog barking in the background, I apologize. The postman's
It's
out.
all good.
I'm a dog owner myself. What dog do you have?
It's a Groodle, so it's a doodle versus retriever, but he's
Okay. He has a couple of Labradors himself.
I got 2 Labradors, and I swear they act just like people.
yeah, they're funny. They're funny dogs.
Just like people.
Too
Very
smart.
intelligent animals. Man, so I just want to get right into this because I know that we're taking up some of your most valuable time because, dude, you are aligned with some of the top athletes just in the world, right? You have worked with Israel Adesanya. You've worked with the best UFC fighters in the world, Kai France, Dan Hooker, Alexander Volkanovski, right? But when I was looking you up and trying to understand what was like where you came from, I couldn't really like find anything. Where how did you start in this? I mean, you don't see many dietitians with cauliflower ears, so I know you train, but how did you get your start in this world of being a dietitian?
as a dietitian, I guess I just did what everyone does to get that qualification. I just went to uni. I did my undergrad in nutrition and exercise science, and then I was dumb enough to go back and pay a lot of money and get my master's degree. When I finished, though, I was working in the clinic, like in a oncology clinic, actually, in Pal Care, and yeah, it was very. I was 21 at the time. It was very depressing, if I'm being honest. And I said, I can't do this. Like, I'm 21 years old and I'm around people who die all day, and nah, not for me. So I went and moved overseas. My brother was living in Canada at the time, and yeah, I'd done a little bit of traveling, but never lived overseas. So I went and did that, and I was going to go for 6 months, ended up staying for 3 years. And it's pretty much over there that the genesis of TFD came to be, because, yeah, I was training a lot when I was over, and I was just kind of living that broke traveler life. But I guess I've always loved fighting. I love training. And when I was over there, I'm just training night and day and kind of working a bar shift at night to pay bills and make ends meet. And then it was when I was over there that I kind of realized, like, oh man, I'm struggling to make weight. My teammates are struggling to make weight. And then I'm going, man, like, surely there's got to be info out here. Like, I've got 2 degrees in this stuff and I have no idea what to tell these guys.
So
And I'm
you
like,
were actually competing, and you were like training for competition. What all did you compete in?
I was a massive. I grew up boxing, so I've been boxing since I was 12, so 20 years. I don't want to say that out loud, but yeah, but yeah. Over there, I was in jiu-jitsu. I was mad. That's when I first got into jiu-jitsu. Probably about what did we? Yeah, 9 years ago or so. And it was just, yeah, competing as much as I can. But the problem is that at the time, combat sports and MMA were really, they're a lot better now, fringe illegal in Toronto, where I was. And so we'd have these underground tournaments, which were fine, but the weight classes were so restricted. So you were either like a heavyweight, you were kind of in the middle, or you were a flyweight. And I was kind of in between. And I'm going, man, like, I don't want to like compete against these guys up here. And then everyone's like, I just cut weight. And at that time, I'm going, yeah, I should be able to do that. Like, this should be easy. And it wasn't, like, and it really surprised me. I'm like, why am I struggling so hard to do this? Like, these concepts, I should know this. And I guess when I went to look for information from other people, there's a couple people kind of doing it. And then I just kind of couldn't find anything. And I thought, wow, that's crazy. And that's what kind of started the whole journey.
So you like saw like a hole in the game almost, right? You kind of saw your path. You know, that's funny actually. I have a very similar story actually. So I started this YouTube journey. I have my own channel, Wide MMA, where I break down fights and things like that. And I kind of got my start off of making a John Jones documentary. So that was like back in, I think, 2015. I had like just started watching the UFC, big John Jones fan, and I was like, why isn't there a documentary on him? Like, I can't find a documentary on him. And sure enough, I think I was like 15 at the time in high school. I just decided, okay, I was on vacation. I was visiting family in Iowa, and I was just like, let's sit down and let's try and figure this thing out. And then it ended up blowing up, and my channel eventually ended up getting taken down due to copyright. But that's what made me kind of start my journey and, like, you know, enjoy that. But yeah, back to you though. You saw that pathway, and you said there wasn't a lot of people that were already doing it. Like, there was a few that you could kind of go off of. But you're like really different, right? You're very big into like Instagram, and you make like really knowledgeable reels and like things that are like easy for you to take and learn from. Like, I've used a lot of your knowledge on my weight cuts for like my last fight and this current fight that I'm doing right now. What inspired you to create content the way you do? What's up, villains? This video is brought to you by DC Recovery, because as we just talked about in this podcast, even more than the push and what you do in training, especially as a combat sports athlete, MMA athlete, martial artist, just an athlete in general, it doesn't matter as much about the push as it does about the recovery. What you put in your body before training, after training, and not just within nutrition, but what you're doing for strength and conditioning, and putting all that work on your body 2 sessions a day and things like that. You need to recover afterwards, whether that's with nutrition or that's sports massage therapy. And DC Recovery, if you're in Houston, is the best guy to go to. I mean, dude, he gets you right. You might be sore for a week afterwards, but you're gonna be right. Not only does he practice sports massage therapy himself and is obviously very knowledgeable about it, but he also teaches the craft. And when you can teach something, as we know in martial arts, that's how we really understand what we're doing. And you could tell that not only through him working on you personally as an athlete, but you can also tell that through his Instagram. So go and give DC Recovery a follow on Instagram. Go to dcrecovery.com and book a session with him. And use promo code NOAH for 10% off.
Man, he had your grandma twerking like Ice Spice. I'm telling you, he had you right, dog. Whoa, he get you right.
All right.
Man, he's a hell of a damn man. I ain't gonna lie. I'm gonna keep it a band buck. He put them cups on me, dog. I was in there hitting this whole. Damn. That really hit that up. Oh,
This is about 2 months post-surgery.
Yeah, this post-surgery after car accident. Fact.
Yeah.
Damn, real one.
Thank you, DC Recovery, for sponsoring this video. And now let's get back to the show.
Yeah, I never wanted to be a content creator, and I don't know how I feel when people say you're a content creator. I think I've always viewed myself more as like a scientist, right? Like when I was growing up, I wanted to be a professional athlete. Like I thought I was going to be a professional rugby player, then I thought I was going to be a professional boxer, and then I really did think I'd get into MMA and do something with that, and then this kind of ruined all of those dreams and aspirations. But I guess it was more what I realized early on is that in the scene that I'm in, a lot of the problems just came from misinformation. And it was like, and you guys would know if you train as well, like my old boxing coach used to make us take a sip of water and run around the block, and you couldn't spit it out just so we'd nose breathe. There was just some merit to it, but very old school. Like, I don't know if you guys ever used to sit around, they throw medicine balls on you. And
sure.
Right.
Yeah, like all this crazy old school stuff. And it's just like almost like legacy bad knowledge that's passed on. And that's what I found with weight cutting is a lot of the practices were just things our coach got told by his coach and then his coach or her coach, and it just passed down. And really, we just needed to come in and be like, okay, let's insert some science in here and like, let's figure out, does this work? Does this not work? I guess I was lucky at the time that I got exposure to certain people who were doing it. Some other like nutritionists, I guess you'd call them. And being exposed to those people made me realize like, wow, there isn't a lot of science in this field. Like these guys are operating at a very, very high level with high level athletes, but they actually don't have the knowledge base, and it's quite dangerous. And you're seeing a lot of people, go to death's door.
Drastic.
Yeah, very, very drastic. And that's where I kind of said, well, if I'm going to make a change in this, and I myself, I'd put myself through terrible weight cuts, as I'm sure you guys have. And it's like, how do you change it is through education and through knowledge. Yeah. That's what kind of led me going to Instagram. And I guess once I started connecting with people, I realized, okay, if I have these higher level athletes, not only is it good to work with these Israel Adesanyas and Alex Volkanovskis, but what that now gives me is this huge platform. And it's like that whole Spider-Man with great power becomes great responsibility, right? It's like, what do you want to do with this platform? And it's like, we just made a very distinct call. It's like, if we're going to have a big platform like this, where we're going to reach millions and millions of people, we need to do it in the right way, and we need to put out scientific information, because, I can say it or whatever, but if they hear Israel saying that, do this and do that, and it's so much better for you, and that's going to impact millions and millions and millions of people. And we're just very fortunate that we figured that out quite early, and we had lots of other people help us out, like in terms of researchers, and I could rattle off, 10 of them that helped me develop the system that we have and put things in place, and then be able to share that out to a bigger audience.
Absolutely. Do you sometimes find yourself having to motivate the athletes when you have to bring them through like such hard weight cuts and getting them down to these? Because I figured out cutting weight, especially when it's drastic weight, I would gain a lot more back. That's what I found myself doing. Do you sometimes find yourself having to motivate them to stay on the protocol?
Yeah. I think fighters are interesting, because fighters, unlike, say, a rugby player where it's like, hey, man, you're just going to have a good game. And, you never hear someone say, he scored a great try, he must have had a good breakfast,
For sure.
If someone misses weight, you go, oh man, well, we all know why you miss weight. You didn't follow your diet. So I think there's a lot more external motivators. And then if it's their career, right, and what it means to them, there's both that external, internal. So I think motivation is quite high with that athlete population. But yeah, of course, it's the struggle I found, at least early on, wasn't necessarily motivating them, because no one wants to miss weight, and friends and family, all know that feeling, when you get on the scale and you're like, shit. Like, and you're like, oh, well, good, let's go. It's more like, okay, how do we break the bad habits? And then getting that buy-in with them was really difficult. You're telling me I can eat all these carbohydrates, pastas, rice for the last 5 years of my career. I've only eaten fats all fight camp, and I still make weight. It's like, yeah, you've made weight, but you felt terrible, and I can do it. Where you still make weight, but you feel way better. That takes a lot of buy-in and a lot of trust. So I guess the motivation that you're giving them is you're building that trust and that relationship, and then you do it once and you go, you know what, we can do it even better. So let's do it better the next time. And like you mentioned Kai earlier, Kai was one of my first clients that I have, and it's like we're coming full circle 7-8 years later, where it's like, okay, now we're fighting for a belt for a second time. But it's like, you know, he's been through it all. Like he knows probably as much about combat sports nutrition as what I do, because a lot of our protocols and the way we changed them over the years, like I'm using them on him and seeing what works. And he's seeing like every 3 months or so we're changing or introducing something in. So we're just constantly and the reason he lets me do that and I go, hey Kai, we're going to do this, the reason he doesn't question me now is because I've built that trust with him over the years. So I guess that's the really big one and the really hard thing with this population, because there's that external factor of, if you stuff me around, dietitian man, I'm going to miss weight. So don't stuff me around. You have to build that relationship.
And yeah, it's really, I think what you said there, like building trust, is really important, because it's very easy to be misled when it comes to nutrition. Like they might tell me tiramisu is just the best thing for me, but if if I start eating that and I believe them just because I'm like looking on social media, then it's gonna mess me up in the long run. But that's why it's important. I think it's important for everyone to honestly be following your page who's aspiring to fight and things like that, because man, nutrition, that's what would you say, like 50% of the battle when you are going to a fight, especially for combat athletes?
Yeah, it's tough to say. I don't know if I could put a percentage on it. I think if for any weight category sport, it's going to be tough. Like food is such a big part of your life, right? Like outside of the physical, hey, I got to drop weight, like just what it takes away from you, say, not being able to go out with your friends and share a meal. Or if you're that weird guy that goes out and you're like, man, I can't eat that awesome pasta dish because I've got to eat something out of my little Tupperware container, like that takes away. And I think it just adds so much more stress to the whole situation. And I think that's a big part of our job, is just taking that stress away and being like, hey guys, no, you can actually go to the restaurant and these are the better options. Like I've got a world champion boxer right now, and literally all he does is every day just send me photos of restaurant food. And he's like, can I have this? Can I have that? And it's like, you're just picking better foods for him. Like it's a huge part of it, because you have to stand on the scale and make weight. You either made weight or you didn't. And then the other part of that is, even if you made weight, did you do it in the best way possible? So we see the best you, so you're not wasting that entire fight camp. Can you get in that cage as your best self? So yeah, it's very important.
So you don't think you could go out and eat every day and still eat a clean diet?
Yeah, maybe if you
Yeah, maybe. But okay, so I mean, there's also like a lot of common like misconceptions, like you were talking about. If you've been eating like an all fat diet, right? And you can make the weight. You can make the weight like eating kind of whatever you want, as long as you like calories in, calories out, right? But it's like about the way you feel. A lot of people, I feel like, have misconceptions, like say about like carbs. You're really big on that, right? What do you think are the common main misconceptions that people have about carbohydrates?
Yeah, I think the big one is just that carbs are bad and carbs will make me get fat. And it's very easy. It's very logical. Like you can cut carbs now and you'll lose 2-3 kilos. It's just because physiologically how it works. We can store fat in our body. Everyone knows that. Like you can pinch fat. You either have a lot of it, you have none of it, but everyone has some of it. So you appreciate you can store fat in your body. You probably don't appreciate you can store carbs as well, because you can't see it. Like you can see your muscles. Okay, that's what protein is, my muscles. But you can't see where the carbs go. They're hidden in glycogen stores in your muscles. And the way that works is to keep them in there, you need water. So if we're eating lots of carbs and we have lots of glycogen, which is very important for a fight sport, because it's what we call a glycogen dependent sport, which means we burn mostly glycogen as our fuel source. It's good if we have a lot of them, but if we lose a lot by either exercising a lot or dieting a lot, you lose the weight of the glycogen plus the water. So you see a big difference on the scale. And so when people, their main intention is to lose weight, and if I go to you guys, just cut carbs for 2-3 days, you go, oh, this is the best. Like I've lost a bunch of weight. So all of a sudden we make this reverse correlation that to lose weight, I need to cut carbs, and then having weight on is bad. So if carbs must then be bad. And I think that's a lot of fighters take that in, because they've got to lose a lot of weight. And it's very confusing. Like you said, how do I best lose weight? Do I do a keto diet? Do I do this diet? Do I do paleo? I'll just cut carbs. That's for sure going to work, because the second I do it, I'm going to start losing weight. It's like, you are losing weight technically, but it's not the right weight. And it's like, and what you're also doing is taking away your main fuel source. And so you're just not showing up to training the best way that you can. And that's a big problem. Like, that's the biggest misconception. And to be honest, I used to buy into it. Like, and I had 2 degrees, but I was around the environment where that's all people would say. And if they caught you eating like a candy bar before training for a bit of fuel, they'd be like, what the hell, dude? Go do 100, burpees. So it's like, I understand how that's propagated through gym life.
I kind of got a deep question.
Okay.
Oh,
I want to dive deep. I want to get to the root. Are you ready,
therapy.
Mr. Jordan?
Let's do it.
Here we go. All right, now they say it takes a village. Can you give credit to some of the people that helped you got to where you are today?
Oh, for sure. The thing is when we, like, you asked about the Instagram and we talk about like, all these cool things that you guys have done. Really, what I did early in my career, and it's probably the best move that I ever did, is I found a lot of really, really smart researchers. And like I said earlier, there wasn't a lot of people doing what I wanted to do. There were a couple like rogue cowboy nutritionists or whatever, but there were good researchers and a couple other dietitians. But the thing is, when you're in research, you're in a lab and no one's like screaming out your praises. And I was very, very fortunate. Dr. Reed Reel, he was working at the Australian Institute of Sport. He's now the head of performance nutrition. He's actually the head of the whole program at the UFC PI Shanghai. So he was one of the very first people that I connected with. Clint Wattenberg, he was the original director of the UFC PI Performance Institute. He's now at Virginia Tech, I think it is. He, at the time, was working at Cornell, I think it was, Cornell. He's an ex-Olympian wrestler, so he gave me a lot of guidance. Dr. Carl Langan Evans, he's probably one of the most prolific figures in sports nutrition in all of the world, but he is at Liverpool John Moores University, and he had a very special interest. He's an ex-elite Taekwondo athlete himself, and they were all doing such great research in that area and doing such great work. And they taught me a lot, and I kind of reached out to them and I was like, hey guys, like, what's happening? And we did a lot of great work with each other. I was just fortunate enough, like I said earlier, I had a platform where I could take all the knowledge that these guys were learning in the lab, what I was doing, in person, and then spread it out. And I think Charles Stull, who's now the current director of the UFC Performance Institute, Performance Nutrition Department, he's probably one of my closest colleagues. And I say it every day. He's probably the smartest mind in all of performance nutrition. We started in the area in about the same time, and he's an ex-Muay Thai fighter. And again, he's helped me develop principles and practices for my athletes that have been game-changing. And we still, to this day, there's problems that me and him have solved in the world of combat sports that if it wasn't for him, I never would have even considered those things. Like, I never would have thought about it. And he's at, such a great institute, like Performance Institute. He's got the means to do the studies and do all of this research and like really give us insight that we never would have had. And I think collectively, those guys have made huge impacts for fighters all around the world. But you might probably just never heard of them or even never heard their names. But those guys are the ones that are really driving the big change. And that's where they taught me pretty much everything I know. If I've got ideas now, they're the first people I'll go to and talk to them about. And those guys.
And we always hear good things about the UFC Performance Institute, about like how their technology is like next level and their science is next level. And honestly, I think fighting is such a big part of the human race. Would you say that managing fighters and studying fighters as you work with the fighters is also helping science, like just for the world and like everyday health? And like, because it is nutrition that we're talking about. You just deal with it on a very extreme basis when you're dealing with fighters.
For sure. I think what we've learned in combat sports science propels all other sports science forward. It's very interesting too, because UFC is only 30 years old. Is it 30 years old now? So it's not very, you think about American football, basketball, hockey, all of these things, they're such older sports. There's hundreds of years of sports science behind it.
Right.
And you think of like I don't know, let's say a basketballer from 1900 and compare him to 2025, they're chalk and cheese, right? But that's why we're seeing fighters develop so quickly, is because sports science has been injected in that. And like you said, especially in the world of weight cutting, because weight cutting is such an extreme end of physiology, it exposes people like in my position to have to learn further to what you would traditionally learn as a dietitian. There's not many dietitians that understand the things you need to understand to safely take someone through a weight cut. But then all of a sudden, if you start working with these fighters, you learn that, and that's in your arsenal now. And I directly have used that with so many other athletes. Like we do a lot of ultra endurance athletes, and they've benefited directly from the work that I've done with the fighters, is because it's kind of at the extremes of these physiology. And then I look in that field and it's like, you guys are crazy as well and pushing your bodies, but I know that I can use this information and help you guys. So yeah, I think the fight sports science definitely excels the other areas for sure.
Yeah. Going back to what you said about the ultra marathon or ultra endurance athletes, there's been some people, like at least like as of recent, what was his name? I have it. What was his Ned Brockman, when he ran 1,000 miles in 12 and a half days.
Wait a minute.
Did someone like that? Did he sleep? Like, does he sleep?
Yeah, you have to sleep. Sleep is probably the most important part of your entire strategy when you do something like that.
Because you're trying to knock it out in a certain like time limit. There's like, that's crazy. 1,000 miles.
Have you seen the movie called Forrest Gump?
Yeah.
That's the only man I've ever heard doing something like that. I've never. That's crazy.
No, that was a wild experience.
No, yeah, and it was crazy because like you posted on your Instagram like the daily macros that he was absorbing, and it was like 1,100 grams of carbs, right? 300 grams of proteins and 270 grams of fat. I couldn't imagine eating that in a day. Is it because he's just burning that much amount of calories that he actually feels hungry every time he's eating, or is he eating even if he isn't feeling hungry?
Yeah, it's a bit of both. You've got to preemptively fuel your body for something like that. And with Ned, we definitely tried. We had a structure, right? Like you have the ideal structure, and it's almost every hour you need to be putting something in, because again, he was only sleeping for 5-6 hours a day, which means that he's working for 18 hours. And us, we're used to operating for maybe 8 hours a day, and it's we've got eating windows in there, maybe 1 or 2. And then if we're not active, if we're not training right, like we're used to the feeling of hunger that's associated with that type of activity level. Wow. But if you start moving and you're active for 18 hours, that completely changes. Your body's burning through those fuel sources so much more. The game of ultra endurance is basically everyone loses, everyone's body shuts down, everyone eventually goes down the pipe. It's the game is how do you slow that process down so you can get them to the finish line or whatever before their body shuts down. And that's essentially part of the fueling strategy. Is we're never going to be able to eat as many calories as what he's burning, but how do we put in enough every single day that we can just get him around that track as many times as we need, get him to bed, and then wake up and do it all again?
Right, yeah. I even saw he like had bandages on his shins and things like that. Like, what was going on with his legs? If you can,
yeah, he came in with a pretty bad shin injury. So from the get go, he had a pretty bad shin injury, but yeah, it's just time on feet. Anyone that's done that stuff, you really like your feet are banged. Again, we're used to just sitting down, chatting, and being on our feet for maybe a few hours a day or whatever. And it's like, imagine pounding pavement. Ned actually said to us afterwards that for the first 2 hours of every day, he'd have to go out and you just hear this like banging on the track. And what he was doing, he said his feet were in so much pain that he had to bang them onto the track for 2 hours to make them go completely numb. And then he'd just run on numb feet for the rest of the day.
No, that.
God. Oh.
Mr. Ned. Mr. Ned was living a whole different type of lifestyle. That is what make him numb.
Just banging him on the concrete.
Can I? I'll say this though. This is just beside the point. You're in your field. It spreads so vastly. You can do this in any type of sports, any sport you would like. Because football wise, I played college sports. I wasn't, I made it far enough. But I tell you this, I seen a dude eat 2 boxes of pizza, a box of wings, drink 2 beers, and play the whole game the next day. Right? And you really, tell you the truth, you really don't kind of figure out your diet until you become a professional. Mm-hmm. When you're in the lower levels, diet doesn't matter. Diet does not matter. Yeah. But would you consider doing like football or basketball, anything like that of that nature?
Yeah, we do. Like our company works with lots of different athletes. I think I just get I think there's more cameras that get pointed at me when I'm with the fighters or the ultra endurance guys because they're such crazy events. And I guess, yeah, but we do like a lot of my personal work. Olympians in cross country skiing. We've got track athletes. We've got, orienteering athletes. I work with a lot of business CEOs who are just really looking for optimization and longevity. And yeah, lots of, I've had meetings with NFL teams, a lot of the rugby league teams over here, Aussie rules football, all sport types of sport. And I guess a lot of
I don't know if you know, but the rugby players they're transitioning to the NFL.
Yeah.
They are moving a lot. Most of the whole Eagles offensive line played rugby. Two of them, the center and the guard, play rugby.
Man, I ain't know.
Because rugby players are dogs. First of all, they do the same thing,
but with no pads.
With no pads. Those are grown men.
Different kind of animals.
Different kind of men. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so going back to something you talked about earlier, like kind of the I still make weight kind of mentality, right? Like where fighters can, have a crappy diet, maybe like they're like vegetarian or something, and they're not like supplementing the nutrients they need from proteins or something like that. And they're still making weight, so they aren't changing what they're doing. What's the biggest difference that you've noticed in athletes that follow like proper nutrition advice? And like, what's the difference between the ones that get the advice and the ones that don't?
It's probably a surprising answer. And before I answer it, I'll set it up by this example, which I use with everyone. So, like, I don't know, let's say football for an example, right? Like how long have you been playing football? Like maybe 10, 15 years or whatever of your life. So let's just say you're a quarterback and you're really good at that. Let's say I've never played football in my life, and then we both go on a field and I eat the perfect football diet beforehand, and you do what your friend did and eat 2 boxes of pizzas, wings, beers, and whatever. If we go out there and we throw a ball and try to hit a target or a moving target, who's going to perform better?
On that day, probably the person who's fueled up.
No, you will, because I have no idea how to throw a football. I have no idea how to do it. Doesn't matter how well fueled I am. I've just never done it. It doesn't matter if you 2 beers deep or whatever. You've done it. You've got the motor neurons. You've got the conditioning. You've done whatever. And I always make this point because when it comes to sport, the most important thing about sport is getting conditioned and fit for that sport and then doing the sport over and over and over and over and over again. So when it comes to what impact does the diet have, when it comes to these athletes, it's the goal of the diet is to keep you doing the sport, is to keep you on the mats and to keep you showing up so you can do kickboxing and then you can roll into wrestling. And then the next day you can do your Muay Thai and then your jiu-jitsu and you can get 12 sessions in, 20 hours of training. The fueling itself, yes, it's important. Where the benefit comes is in the recovery, because that's very, very difficult to recover between a double wrestling session into a weight session into kickboxing the next morning. If you're drinking beer, eating pizza, not being smart about it. But if you're periodizing your carbohydrates, getting the right amount before and after and during, you're eating a good amount of protein, your fats are on point, you've got your hydration strategy, you're supplementing with all your vitamins and minerals, you're going to recover a lot better in, say, the 8 to 12 hours between those sessions. And when you get to those sessions, you're going to be able to do the work at the intensity that you need to do to get those micro adaptations that make you a better player or a better fighter or better athlete in whatever you are doing. So where your diet comes in, it's everything in between. Because at the end of the day, what makes you a better athlete is doing the thing. But then what makes me a better athlete to you, if we both start the sport at the exact same day, is if I can add my diet on top of that, I'm probably going to become a better athlete way faster than you.
Right. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And I've seen people perform off of some horrific diets, horrific diets. But okay, you don't have to put anyone on the spot or say any names. But what did the worst? Do you have like a worst diet that you've seen for in terms of fighters? Like you started working with this guy and his diet was just horrific. What did that person's diet look like? If you have one?
Yeah, terrible. I mean, I can say. I mean, I feel like Israel's been pretty public about it. Like he
has.
And like, yeah, I mean, and I've worked with Israel a long time, and a lot of it was like, yeah, I guess for him, he's one in a we'll never have an Israel Adesanya again. I don't think
For
in,
sure.
Ever.
in combat sports. And once you get to know it, there's lots of factors. Like and again, don't take discredit from him. He's trained exceptionally hard and rocked up to the
Yeah.
gym on days where people just didn't, and he put in so much work. His
Over 100
mindset,
fights.
yeah, he's put in so much work on his mindset and everything else. But when it comes to his diet, for a long time, it was just lacking. He big time again. And it's again, like we spoke about earlier, it's not necessarily his fault. He fought in China. He was in Thailand. It was this generational knowledge that was passed down. He wouldn't eat before training because if you're in Thailand, you don't eat before training. You do your run and then you get into the gym and you train.
Right.
And like you say, he's taken on all these habits. And I guess it's funny when you're as good as what he is and he say he's fasting every morning, he might eat like a big lunch or maybe even skip lunch and then just order heaps of Uber Eats at night just to get the calories in because he's in such a deficit by that point. He can eat whatever. And maybe it's not optimizing recovery, but he's rocking up to training the next day and smoking people. Like you're probably not going to look back and go like, oh, I need to change the diet. Like if you're winning and it's working, the problem is that when you get a bit older, like your body's a factory, right? And
Mm-hmm.
the way that your body works, you have all these systems, like different parts of the factory. They'll run if you put the electricity through it. Like if you put just the calories in, it'll work. But all those micronutrients and all those vitamins and minerals that you put in are like the workers. And if you get really good workers in there, that factory becomes way more efficient and it'll last way longer. But if you take all the workers out and leave a couple bad ones, it's a way less efficient factory. The factory will still run, it's just not as efficient.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you saw. And that's why he spoke about it so much before his last couple of fights, is because
Right.
he got so far into it where it's like, man, I got so far in my career without really taking this seriously. And I'm kind of seeing the negatives of that. Like I'm getting injured. I've got these, issues here and there. And it's because
Right.
the factory was not breaking down, but not working like it should have been compared to, say, someone else who just looked after that for 10, 15 years of their career. They get there and they go, oh, everything's working fine.
Right, yeah, and I already know how easy it is. I'm African myself, so I know we live off of fufu, meat pie, and suya all day. And you can't run a proper engine like that. But in fact, going back to what you said, yeah, we noticed it in his because in the lead up to like Drekus, right, when he was fighting DDP, he was yoked out of his mind. Like
Huge.
that was the biggest we've ever seen him,
Huge.
and it wasn't just the biggest we've ever seen him, and like the most defined that we've seen him, but it was also he had the most output activity wise in the fight while he was fighting. Did you work for him for that camp as well?
Yeah. I've been with him the whole time. So it's he was in great shape, and it's like he took it very serious. Like he has a chef Matt Hughes, who literally would just me and him would go back and forth every other day, and he'd make sure that he hit the numbers that I said, and Matt would turn it into awesome food. And Izzy was super disciplined with it, and it's like again, like can't take anything away from DDP. He's probably on his way to be one of the greats as well. And it's like, but like what a clash of titans, right? Like it's just like you get two of those guys at the top of their game, and it's like how cool is that to watch that when you've got Izzy and he's like such prime, and then DDP and whatever. But that's the thing is like it's crazy. I even think now it's crazy. Like Izzy could, I don't know if he chose to do any other sport. I think with the mindset now, like if he wanted to be a marathon runner and he's like big, tall African guy, like he be a marathon runner. I honestly think if Izzy was like, I want to go be a pickleball player, like the way that he is now and the way that he eats and trains and the knowledge that he has, he could probably go be the best in the world at that.
He seems like one of those people who could pick something up, get fascinated about it or obsessed about it, and
be the best
and just go all the way.
Yeah.
He doesn't know this because he's going through it right now. Because he's living, he's doing his thing. He inspired an entire generation.
I think he knows, bro. I think he knows.
No, you don't know until it's over. You don't know until it's over because you don't reap the benefits until you get to see it all behind you. He's going this way.
And there's not many people who could slip off a left hook into a takedown and work with it. DDP is one of a kind. I mean, his style's unique.
For sure.
His style's unique.
For sure. Mr. Jordan, you're going to see us out there in Australia. You're going to see us. Now, I don't drink. But we're going to do something else. We're going to have a good time. Absolutely.
Yeah, come down. The weather's good. Good time of year now, too.
Say no more.
So going back to like the common misconceptions, and we were talking about carbohydrates and things like that. I feel like nutrition is almost like jujitsu or any kind of like martial arts. It's like it isn't about really that a move doesn't work, right? It's not like this rear naked choke doesn't work or this triangle doesn't work. It's more about when or where it does work, right? Because there's a place that it was created for a reason. There's a place where it belongs and why it works the way it does. And I feel like isn't that the same thing with food? Would you say?
That's a really good analogy. I'm going to steal that. Yeah, exactly. It's like if you're in Ashigurami or like 50-50, right? You're not going to try to like throw a rear naked choke at someone. Like maybe I don't know,
Right.
maybe Greg Jones or someone probably would. I don't know, but the thing is, it's
He'll
like
do
time
some
and
weird
place
shit.
for everything, and it's like you said, it's like, is it the fact that the armbar doesn't work, or maybe that angle that you were shown doesn't necessarily work for your body type, and maybe it's if you just adjust your hips a little bit here, or you put the arm this way, or for you struggle getting this grip because of how long your arms are, and if you try this grip, hey, it actually does work. I think the same with jiu-jitsu, right? It's like foundational principles work, like pressure works, like, you know, position over submission works. Like all these
Right.
principles work. Same with nutrition. It's like if you want to lose weight, you got to eat less calories. It's like if you want to fuel as best you can, eat carbs before your training. But then it's like, how does that work with your body? How does that work with your body, your physiology, which has changed over your entire lifetime? You have a different metabolism. You have a different metabolism now than you did 5 years ago, based on your training, based on everything. So it's figuring out what works best. And I think nutrition's a funny one, kind of like jujitsu, because people obsess over it so much because it's so unique to them. Like no one understands what it's like for you to eat food and for you to go through that. And that food literally breaks down and becomes part of your body. So it's a very intimate thing. So if I've gone on a vegan diet and then I've seen all these great benefits and I feel great, there's no reason that you shouldn't as well. Like that's a very common logical fallacy that we see in nutrition. And you go, well, maybe I don't digest food as well. Or you know what? I actually need a lot of meat. And for me, I can control the portions and I can do this well. And that works great. Maybe it would work great as well if I did vegan, did that. Like we're not saying one's better than the other, but I just don't want to do it. So it's like same as jiu-jitsu. That's a great analogy. I'm stealing it.
Go ahead. It's all yours.
Man,
But-
don't get this dude crazy. I do have a question though. Do you commonly see the older athletes have a harder time getting to that weight than the younger athletes?
Yes, but not for the reason you think so. And I think you know Marvin Hagler, the
Yes, sir.
Of course.
boxer? Like, and what's that old saying that he has? It's very hard to get up at 5 a.m. and run when you're sleeping in silk sheets.
Yep.
I see.
I don't think it's necessarily that we get these metabolic changes or whatever, or that your body changes particularly. I think when you're a young, broke 21-year-old and this is everything to you and in your world, if you don't make this work, nothing else matters. And I think as you grow a bit older and you become a bit more mature and you go, hey, my whole identity isn't fighting, and, you know, I've got a family now and I've got kids, and you might not just want it as bad. That's generally the trend I see. I go, yeah, you know what? When we used to do these weight cuts, you literally were willing to die. You were going in that cage willing to die. Now you've got
Right.
2 kids at home. You don't want it. That's not the same mindset, and you shouldn't have that mindset.
Right.
And I think that's mostly the change we see. Is there metabolic things that can change after repeated bad weight cuts? Yes, absolutely. I feel though, if you're at that level, say a top level UFC guy, you're probably on top of it, because I always use the example. Look at Jose Aldo,
Oh my
one of the
God.
greatest ever in featherweight, and then he went down to bantamweight, and he's in just as good shape. So the reverse is true. I have just found in my experience, my practice, as weight cuts get harder when we get older, it's not usually a physiological thing; it's a psychological thing.
For sure.
Right. Some people were saying that was that Brazilian horse meat though. That Jose was eating. Some people say he stopped eating it and he
Not that I
shrunk
know
down.
anything about that, but yeah, that definitely.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, honestly, it was one of my goats, so I ain't saying nothing.
Wait, he was eating horse meat. What? Oh,
Little, you know that stuff that Paulo Costa be the secret juice.
Paulo, he got it in the secret juice.
Yeah.
Hey, you saw what Izzy did with that secret juice.
Hey, it is what it is.
Hey, I'm just saying. Hey, go ahead. That secret juice.
But you were talking about like different body types and that people metabolize things different, or like because you have it down to like an extreme science. Honestly, would you say like it even goes as deep as it depends on someone's fighting style for how you're fueling them. Like if they're a striker and an explosive one, like a Michael Chandler, or if they're like a Khabib Nurmagomedov. Because like in the world of like strength and conditioning, you know that grappling is more like isometric strength, right? And like striking is more like anaerobic and like explosive movement all the time, or like being able to explode and then reset, and then explode and reset, right? Would you say that you fuel fighters based off of that as well?
Yeah, 100%. It's all part of the game plan. I think Volk's a good example when he fought Islam the first time. We had quite a period there where he was going up weight, and again, like he's fighting Islam, who's such a heavy grappler. So we go, okay, if Volk's going to have to grapple with him a lot, which he ended up doing, there is probably merit here that whether or not he gets a lot physically bigger, he can get a lot physically stronger if we fuel him differently. And that was absolutely part of the game plan where we go, okay, we need to make sure he's fueled so he's ready for a 25-minute grappling fight. Whereas this last fight that he had, he's coming back and he's fighting Diego. It's like, okay, we know he needs to be fast. He's down a weight division, but he came in super shredded because the game plan was we need him to move really fast and we need him to just pick this guy apart. So we're not going to keep him heavier. That's why he came in looking so shredded and in really good shape, and he moves so well. So those intricate details when you're fighting for a world championship, number one versus number two, they matter. Maybe not in the lower level. It's just like you kind of just figure out what works, go out, get some experience and whatever. But it's like at those top levels, yeah, absolutely. We're thinking about all of those things, and that absolutely dictates what we're doing with their diet.
God damn, that's beautiful, man. That just makes me love the sport even
That was
more.
pretty cool.
Because I love like the anatomy, like we talk about on this show, right? He's like the casual. He brings the casual mindset, and like he'll say all the shit people thinking, but they can't really say.
They can't say it.
But
see, they just can't. I'm gonna just say it.
I'm more of like the analytical mind to where like I'll like break things down. Like I'm a nerd kind of when it comes to this game. So I love like the anatomy and everything that you do as well. That's why I wanted to talk to you so bad. And I know we don't want to take up too much of your time. But I think we got a few minutes left. But like I want to ask you about a lot of things, especially even like you said with Volkanovski, right? You said he was stronger in the Islam fight and faster in the Diego Lopes fight. Both of those fights, which he looked great. I mean, the Islam fight was God. That was like the best fight I've seen. Like as far as
real long time,
pure mixed martial arts, it was just the highest of high levels, right? Number one and number two, pound for pound. Would you say like the nutrition and him just taking it on short notice and depleting himself had a big effect in the rematch when he fought Islam the second time?
The weight cut for that one wasn't too big. Of course, it definitely play a role for sure. I think we did like 25 pounds in 12 days or something crazy. But it wasn't actually that crazy because the thing is, he was on holiday, so a lot of that was just water weight and whatever. Again, I think it just comes down to that point, like with Islam. Like you got to remember when Volk's in camp, he's like 16 weeks into a pre-camp, and then he goes 12 weeks really hard. He doesn't miss a beat. He's doing all his training. He's getting regular physio. He's with his strength conditioning coach, Chris Jaffrey, who's got him dialed in. We've got testing every single week where me, Jaff, and then Bainesy, who's his physio. We've got like the sports med team will check in with each other every week. Where's his numbers at? Is he in line with last camp? What's going on? Is he injured? Okay, am I under fueling him? Am I over fueling him? What's happening? We check all these things. And that's a 12-week process just from the sports medical side of things. And then he's got Coach Joe Lopez dialing everything in. He's got different training partners flying in around the world. He's dialing in and becoming Alexander the Great. And it's a 12-week process coming through. And then that fight, he's taking it on 12 days notice. None of that happened. It's just basically you're getting up, getting the gym, and you're just doing what you can so you can get the weight off so you can make the walk. And maybe you could do that against like an unranked opponent. But in the UFC, and again, Islam versus Volk, probably the two best guys in the world. You can't do that when Islam's done that every single day for 8-12 weeks or whatever, and he's doing all the crazy sauna into the the ice lake and then doing his normal training. If they're both doing that and they both got a 12-week, that's why we get the fight like we saw in the first one of the best ever, and that's what it's meant to be. You wouldn't say you expect it to happen, but it's like, this is our job. We're professionals at our job. If you just do the maths right, it's like,
I'm looking for that.
Everyone's got a puncher's chance, I suppose. But it's like, yeah, at the end of the day, 1 and 2 that level, you can't really
For sure.
do that and expect anything
I still
else.
want to see that trilogy. I'm not done. I'm not
No,
satisfied.
it's probably
dog.
it's
I'm not
it's
satisfied.
probably, yeah.
As a Volk fan, dog, I'm not satisfied.
Yeah.
But I mean, he looked great though in his Diego Lopes one. You could
Sure.
tell he was like more shredded
He was ready.
and more because he had to be up on the toes.
Mm.
Diego Lopes is a very coming forward, but I'm like they're coming forward a lot of power. You gotta be up on the toes for
You
that.
can tell
right?
he wanted that belt though. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Can I ask a question as well? Now I know. Now you're doing this 24/7. This 24/7, 7 days a week. What is some of the things Mr. Jordan does to decompress?
I got into ultra running. That's why we work with a lot of them. I love training. Like I love MMA, I love jiu-jitsu, I love boxing and whatnot. But point of my career, once it kind of took off, that kind of took me by surprise as well, right? Like the gym was always my safe space where I'd go. Probably similar to you guys. It's like your family. You can have whatever problems during the day. You go to the gym, it doesn't matter. As soon as you get on the mats, it doesn't matter if you're a janitor, a lawyer, a doctor, whatever. We're all equal, and none of that stuff in the outside world matters. And that's what attracts so many people to it. But that slowly didn't happen for me because it changed for me because that became my world, right? So all of a sudden I'm hitting pads and guys are like, can I ask you a question? Can I do this? And I'm rolling with people and you're like choking them out and they're like, oh man, that was awesome. Anyway, so for my breakfast tomorrow, you're like, it like kind of didn't become my safe space. And like, I still get to train now in like certain gyms and stuff I'll go to. But like, it basically got me into running. I was like, I need to kind of get away. And it was, and I guess, I went out to a trail one day and ran for a couple of hours. I was like, that was amazing. Like you're in nature and whatever, but then your phone's not going off. I'm not getting asked all these questions. And that's kind of how I've learned to decompress. And I've learned over the years how I can integrate training back in and not let it mix. But
isn't it crazy? Isn't it crazy how we always like go back? There's all these phones, all these technology and things like that, but we always go back. The things that make us feel the best are the things that people have been doing for millions, thousands of years, right?
He got me into it. I tell you this, the casual. I was casually going into the gym, right? I played football with him. We went to high school together, right? So, as you know, playing sports, we are very competitive. And when you play sports, you don't like to lose. I don't care if it's just basket weaving. I want to be the best one in the room. See, I walk into the gym and I look at him and I say, I'm gonna choke him out. I don't care if his belt is brown and then it has stripes. I'm gonna have my white belt and I'm gonna choke him out. This dude probably choked me out 16 times in probably 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And that made me go from 240 pounds to 185 pounds in 3 months.
Wow.
But you see, it gives you a drive. You see, like you said, and it's everybody's the same. Everybody's saying when I walk in here, everybody in here just wants to get better. And as men, we don't have too many outlets. We're not finna just go talk about our feelings. That's just not a good thing that we do. And I'm not saying it's good, but we just don't do that. Having sports is a good outlet to get that out.
And not just sports, but martial arts.
Martial arts.
You're speaking fast, but like, martial arts in general. I mean, I feel like that's a big reason of why I want to have this podcast. Like, I don't have the biggest following or anything like that, but if I could inspire a few to just join martial arts, I mean, I've seen the way it's not only changed my life, but people around me's life. Like now my whole family's always not just watching fights, but just doing better for themselves, nutrition wise, right? Wellness wise, health wise, exercise. Like now that's a common conversation in a household where, in an American household, it's probably not a typical conversation. Nobody's talking about what'd you eat for breakfast? How many carbs did you have?
You're right.
But nobody's doing that, right?
You're right.
But not even just on the physical health, but like the mental health. Like he said, that it brings like the community and hurt people in this world, right?
Sure.
And if I can make less people hurt by inspiring them to do something like this and go and get ego checked every once in a while or something like that, then I feel like I'll be doing the right thing and I'm I have a purpose,
For sure.
and that's a big reason why I started wanting to talk about this and things like this, differentiating from my original YouTube channel where I break down fights. I like to interview guys like you and get y'all's mindsets and maybe even use y'all's platforms to help spread that same message, because I just feel like it's the way, right? It's the truth. But What do you think about that?
Yeah. I always say to people, I think it's very hard to be a dick when you get punched in the face every day. So.
Very hard. Very hard. Very hard. How can I be mad?
Yes, what I'm gonna do about it? Look, I was trying to whoop his ass. I don't give a look. I was trying my best. Can't do nothing, but I got better. Even when I got my ass whooped, it's about experience. Experience makes the best of us all, and that takes time, and that they take getting your ass whooped. But the best only got there from experience. Like you train the best athletes. They was getting their ass whooped to get to where they got to. And now they whoop ass. It takes time.
Yeah.
It takes time. Right. And I really appreciate you coming down here and showing how, you know, what it takes to get to where you are now. How much you've been through to get to where you are now. And like you said, sometimes you rest people and then they ask you, oh yeah, what about breakfast? You see now, it was a time where it wasn't like that. And now you see everything, nothing remains the same. Nothing remains the same. Mm-hmm. And I thank you. I appreciate you talking to us, because I am the casual, and this is a lot for me. You know, this is different. He's been doing this for a very long time. But with him doing this for a long time, and it got me to come to the community, just like it's doing for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's massive for me too.
Sure.
It's massive for me too. But we're gonna bring us into one of the last sections that we have for you on this podcast. We call it tripping or willing, because we know you got to be willing to be a fighter, right? We got to be willing. But some people are tripping. Some people are tripping in this game, and we can all attest to that. We all tripping sometimes, right? But the first one I want to ask you about is so. Matter of fact, I think it was just today. Merab really, he brought it up again. And I've been having this question for a while because I've heard him talk about it before, but his weight cut. He's having a very tough weight cut. I mean, you can hear it on his mouth. Like when he's speaking, his mouth is dry and it seems like he just has no energy. His cheekbones are already sucked in. We're still 2 days away from making weight. But the thing is, he always does it like this. He calls it old school, but he still does everything. He does the water load, right? And then, he just doesn't eat or drink water for the last 2 days of the weight cut, and then makes weight. He doesn't do sauna or anything like that. He's hitting the bag. He's sparring and does regular training, and he runs. That's what he said he does. Maybe he has the sweatsuit on and stuff to help get it off. But he says he cuts the 5 pounds of water one day, the 5 pounds of water the other day, and, without fueling himself back up. Is he tripping or is he willing for cutting weight like that?
I think he's definitely tripping, but I think he's probably a bit smarter than what we're giving him credit for, because one thing I've learned about fighters, and I think Merab's probably fits this bill pretty good, is that when it comes to the weight cut, they love to exaggerate how bad it is because it looks good on social media. And a lot of fighters will tend to pretend like they're doing it a lot more tough than what they are, just to get a few views. And Merab's got one of the best Instagrams going around. I would not be surprised if he's filming something and then turning around and, you know, going about his merry day and having a cucumber and hummus. I don't know, like.
I mean, he's also the type of person to dive headfirst into a frozen lake and
for sure,
and to post a picture of his broken toe on social media. That just, I mean, you know, he does those type of things. So I think that maybe he is playing it up a little bit. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe that is something
I've been with fighters where we're cutting weight and then they're fine, and then a camera comes and all of a sudden they start groaning and moaning.
It's all a part of the show. Hey, it's all a part of the show.
It's entertainment business. It's entertainment business.
Okay, so Merab's tripping.
He's tripping.
He said he's trying to change it up though after this fight. He said after this fight I'm gonna do a practice weight cut. I'm gonna do it the way maybe y'all saying to do it. He's at the PI all the time. That's crazy.
He relies on his cardio though.
Which makes no sense.
That's what I'm saying. You gotta understand, he probably he BSing. Cause look, you gotta think he fighting Sean O'Malley. So look, if damn, I can't move. My arms they just can't. And then he win. Damn, Merab is the greatest ever. His weight cuts are
that's kind of what they're saying though. They're saying he's the greatest.
And he beat Sean.
In your opinion, would you say he's the greatest bantamweight of all time? Merab? You think he's done enough already? I mean,
no, God, no. Against like Cruz or Dillish, not even.
I feel like it's a lot of recency bias, right?
Yeah, not even close.
Not even close. He has beaten a lot of, like, you gotta give it to him, because even before he had the belt, he did beat a lot of good like champions and good fighters. I just think on a skill basis, he's very like cardio reliant, like you said, and he has a very efficient style. For like everyone says it's cardio and it's genetic and stuff like that. I don't believe it's genetic, honestly. I think it's more mindset than it is genetic.
That's hard work,
right? And it's him wanting to push. Like this dude was a bricklayer. He came from another country, made his way in America. Like he's a strong mind.
Yeah, for sure.
And I feel like that has more to do with his cardio. You hear Faraz Zahabi, who is a great coach, of course, talking about it's like genetic. I don't think it's genetic. Do you think that people are more genetically inclined for like cardio and things like that?
No, I think it's his wrestling background. Like you guys know, you guys have all wrestled, right? Like it's
yes, sir.
the hardest, sport in the world is wrestling, and the second hardest is MMA. Like wrestling is by far the hardest sport in the world. It's the hardest component of MMA. It's just those guys they're built different, and they're built different. They're not born different. They're built that way because they're on the mats every single day, 5 days a week, doing crazy cardio, and it's just nonstop. Like a 5-minute wrestling round is one of the hardest things you could do. If you're going all out in a 5-minute wrestling round with a good wrestler, like, man, and those guys have done that day in, day out. It's like, of course they're going to have great cardio.
Dude, I love what you just said. They're built different, not born different. Oh God, I'm so big on that, man. Because so many people want to. That's kind of like an excuse, in my opinion. Like when they say, "Oh, he was born with this or that or whatever." I mean, I get it. I'm black. I was born with some genes, maybe, but
just a little bit of athleticism.
But I mean, I work hard as well. I work hard, and you got to give these athletes credit, right? They work hard.
The black ones get their ass whooped too.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you ain't lying.
You can be gray. Yeah, blue, gray, it don't matter. Purple. You better train.
You're right.
You better train.
Okay. All right. Here we go. But the second question that off of tripping or willing, so we've heard some pretty crazy like weight cut stories and things like that of people drinking wine before cutting the weight or to actually finish cutting the weight. We know Paulo Costa did it against Israel Adesanya, but we also know that Ilia Topuria has been very vocal about how he used wine literally the night before weighing in to finish cutting the rest of his weight. You think he was tripping or he was willing for cutting weight with wine?
And it's a good one.
That's tripping. That's it worked for him. Nah, like
really? It got done.
Nah, dude. I've seen some wild weight cuts, and it's like you should not be putting wine in that body like that. I understand. I totally get why he's doing it because just like the biggest part, and you guys would know, like it's hard to sleep if you've gone over that part of dehydration. And I guess why he's doing it is like you've got that buzz, and if you're so dehydrated already, the alcohol and if you went to bed, you probably do sleep. It's like a better mood. You take out like the crappy part, but it's like I couldn't imagine what it's like when he wakes up the next morning. Like you probably
head ringing. Like God, damn.
Your mouth's already dry enough as it is, let alone having alcohol dry it out further. And it's like, yeah, God, it's like. And the thing is like I think he did it twice, and then he said, "Nah, don't do that anymore." And he's like, "Nah." It's like, yeah, that would be terrible. Like, I couldn't imagine it.
Do you think the wine would also make it harder to like recover and rehydrate if you're drinking it the night before? Like after you weigh in and everything?
I think what it would do is put a lot of like additional stress on your liver, like which is already like you're basically dying, right? Like your body thinks you're dying. Like your body thinks you're in the desert and you're rotting away and dying, and then it's going, oh my God. And then all of a sudden it just gets 2 glasses of wine. And it's like, I'm trying to survive here, and now I've got to process this alcohol because I can't do anything because I've got to get rid of this alcohol because it's legit a toxin. Like that's why we've got to get rid of it as soon as it's in there. That's why we get drunk so fast. But it's like, yeah, it's just I wouldn't recommend it. Yeah, it's hard. Like you said, he got it done, and then he became a world champion. So it's like,
and then imagine waking up too. Wait, oh damn! You gotta go to the bathroom. You gotta pee. Oh damn! Oh look, you didn't have look. You gotta piss and what that? I'm good. My bad. I was just giving an example. No, you gotta pee the moment you wake up in the morning. Hell no, man.
Yeah, and real quick on that recovery basis. So like we talk about like recovering from a weight cut, and the rehydration is honestly more important than how you get down there. Rehydration will make or break how you feel in that fight. And can you tell when a fighter, like after they rehydrate and everything, they're about to fight, do you already know how that rehydration is going to affect them? Like, are you able to tell with your knowledge and stuff like that beforehand?
Yeah, you can definitely tell if a fighter's rehydrated properly for sure. Like you should know if you're looking after them, there's certain things that happen that and certain numbers in terms of the weight that they put on, how their gut handles things that you know whether you got it right or you got it wrong. And in like the early days, like before, I started a whole company basically to get that rehydration right. Before we had that and all like the science and knowledge behind that, you're just mixing up crazy random drinks thinking that it works. And you'd have guys like you'd see guys at the UFC like throwing up straight after weigh-ins because they put like a crazy concoction in their body, or they're just smashing coconut water and then they're all of a sudden freaking out, or guys getting sent to the hospital because they've got like the electrolyte balance wrong. And yeah, that's like you said, I would consider the rehydration more dangerous for one, and then more important than the
More
actual
dangerous.
No,
more dangerous.
he's right. No,
really.
he's right, because I'm not sure if y'all saw the last card, but I'm not sure.
Macy Barber.
She had a seizure right before the fight because she was having problems rehydrating.
You think that was weight cut? Was that weight cut?
It was the weight, because she was having problems with the weight cut.
Okay.
She was having issues with the weight cut prior anyway, before the fight. And then during the fight, she had a seizure right before in the locker room.
God.
So it does affect you. It affects you.
But you think the whole like rehydration process, like the way you're intaking food, is actually more dangerous, like lethal, than actually getting down there and depleting yourself of all the water that quickly?
Well, your body's like very good at being dehydrated. Like your body can last a long time dehydrated. Weight cuts are dangerous not because you're dehydrated. They're dangerous because you're dehydrated in the heat. Your body's very good at being dehydrated, but it's not very good at the heat, even when you're hydrated. But when you're dehydrated, it makes the heat 10 times worse.
Okay.
Then the problem becomes you change a lot of like your chemistry in your body. And if you don't know how to rehydrate properly, you can flip that chemistry. And again, your body's okay being dehydrated, can't handle the heat, and then it can't handle these like chemical imbalances. Both of those things can kill you pretty quickly, where the dehydration itself is like, you can handle that for a while. There's a reason, Jesus went out to the desert for 40 days and survived.
Amen.
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 Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, so getting into our final tripping or willing question. So I'm about like 2.5, 3 weeks out from my next fight at Fury FC 105. And I just ate some tacos and quesadillas. Am I tripping or willing for that? Because it's not like I've been eating healthy all camp and things like that, and I've been trying to keep up with like the carbohydrates beforehand. And I've been using your channel, I've been I'm dialed in. I really am. I'm dialed in.
Yeah,
I ate some quesadillas. I just thought I'd let back a little bit. 2.5, 3 weeks before the fight. Is that okay? Or am I tripping?
No, wait. I've never posted anything about quesadillas on our.
You got me. Look.
He said he had a damn quesadilla on that web.
You know what? I think it's pretty willing, because I think you should be able to make weight and have that stuff. Although Volk's last camp, when he was super shredded, it was the first time he didn't do that. And I've always said to him, it's okay, just have a bit and it's fine. And then I saw the difference in his body when he didn't do that. And I went, oh, shit, maybe I shouldn't be telling people that, because he looks...
Yeah. That's that get back, bro.
He was yoked.
Adversity is a privilege. You heard him talk about it, bro.
And he whooped ass. He's a professional. He is a professional. Just how he moves, how he fights, how he speaks. He's just a professional. Way he moves. Yeah. What we talking about experience? That was taught. That was taught. He had somebody to see that from.
Yeah.
He had somebody to watch that from. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of tacos.
Tacos?
Speaking of tacos, this video is brought to you by Chef Hat Pirates.
Damn.
If you're in Houston, man, and you're trying to cater yourself some good, authentic Tex-Mex food, check out the Chef Hat Pirates on Instagram. They'll take care of all your catering needs. Tacos, quesadillas, anything you want. I'm sure they'll whip it up right for you. And, man, if you don't believe us on how good this shit is, watch this shit right here.
Hold up, bro. That shit look like my ex, a good woman.
Oh my.
You know they tell you that you shouldn't be eating like this when you're trying to lose weight. I ain't trying to lose nothing. I ain't trying to lose shit. Goddamn tacos was good. The food was quite delicious. Noah eating all the food and shit before fight camp and asking the dietitian, was that a good idea? And he said, nigga, did you see that on my Instagram? Or the fuck? No, what? Said it right in his face. I ain't gonna lie, that shit was crazy.
He said, fuck it.
He said, fuck it, Volk was doing that shit. Fuck it. Volk was eating the same tacos. Hey, check out our plate, bro. They really hitting on something. Volk was there.
Chef Hat Pirates on Instagram.
Chef Hat.
Check him out.
Man.
Man, dude, I appreciate you giving us all this time, man. You're a real one, dude. And we're just gonna leave it. We're gonna just leave it off with a couple or these last few fan questions that we have for you today. One being, is there a certain peak for everybody, or are people like do people like this bodies like absorb nutrients better than others? Like, say for an example, like me, is it possible that I absorb protein or carbohydrates in a better fashion than Terrence would? Like more efficiently? Yeah.
Fundamentally, everyone's body's the same and we all absorb things, but there's absolutely cases where you don't absorb. Like if someone has celiac disease, you're not going to absorb gluten, or if someone has Crohn's disease, something like that, and then part of your bowel isn't working properly, for sure, they can cause obstructions on how you absorb nutrients. That's absolutely a real thing. If you abuse your body for years, like with alcohol and certain things, that can limit the absorption of certain nutrients. So yeah, fundamentally, you've got all the machinery in there to absorb everything. Whether or not that machinery works properly either can be dictated by like a disease or a condition, or how you treat the body. And if you have a disease or condition, or you mistreat your body, yeah, you can absolutely differ how your body absorbs things.
Right. Okay. So it is kind of like the same engine in a way, like of how it like processes it, unless you have like one of those like diseases or disabilities or whatever. Okay.
Most that's really how you treat yourself, though. How you treat your own body.
Yeah. And the question number 2 would be, what are the benefits of getting your nutrition through real food versus supplementation, especially for the people going on like the vegan diets and things like that, or people going carnivore diet and trying to get like the nutrients that they're missing. What are the benefits of getting your nutrients through real whole foods rather than supplementation?
We don't know right now, I guess, is the best answer, because we never really had a study where we can take two people and compare them across the lifespan. The most interesting thing I think about nutrition is there's this thing called the food nutrient network. So if you were to eat an apple and you take a bite of an apple, you get all the nutrients, you get the sugars, you get the fiber, you get whatever else that's in the apple. Do those individual components still operate the same as if I was to make in a lab all of the fiber and the sugars and everything else and then put them in by themselves? Do they operate the same way once they get in the body? And the argument is that our body evolved with all these foods around us, and the way that we digest things should come from a food nutrient network basis, because the theory goes is that that apple will be better absorbed and the things in that apple will be better used if we eat it all together. Whether or not that's true or not, we don't know, because you can't compare it. Right. But what we do know is that, say, if you're lacking in a supplement, you're a vegan or whatever, and you do supplement that, it does make a big difference. Whether or not, I think the difference between, say, a whole food diet and a very like crappy processed diet, if you swap to the whole food ones, you're probably going to be a lot healthier anyway. So whether or not the supplement debate versus whole foods, I think if you're eating whole foods in the first place, you're probably doing pretty well. I think if you're eating mostly whole foods and then supplementing when you can, like, yeah, you're probably still good as well.
And I know you're a scientist, but that's why I don't trust all the stuff made in the labs and things like that. Like, I would rather just, get the berry right off the tree and eat it if I could, right? What?
Off the tree?
Yeah, off the tree.
See,
or berry, okay, off the plant, whatever, picking berries, whatever.
Damn, off the tree. You gonna be scratching your tongue. You get that sucker straight off the tree. Try it if you might. All right, go ahead. My bad, bro. My bad.
God, you made me forget.
My bad, bro. My bad.
My bad, bro. But oh yeah, like I feel like I do trust medicine, but like when I can, if I'm like feeling ill or something, I feel like I'll look to food first. Like, what kinds of food will help me before like going to what pill can I pop. That's just me personally. But okay, the last question I have here. So I don't know anything about this, right? But I have a nutritionist and dietitian friend who wanted to ask you, what do you think about NMN for performance and TMG for wellness? I have no idea what those mean, but
No, that makes two of us. I have no idea.
you don't know what those mean either. Okay, all right,
Yeah.
man. Jordan, thank you for letting us have your time, dude. Man, this has been amazing, man. Episode 76. God damn,
Sure.
episode 76 is amazing. For your fans out there, man, you have a massive platform, right? You work with, I think, over 85% of the athletes in the Australia and New Zealand region. Man, for all the people around the world, how can they help support you and what you do? I know you have a website and you've written books on these things, but how would they be able to best support you?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. If they head to the website, thefightdietitian.com is a good place. We've got all our resources there. And then on socials, just at @_Fight Dietitian on Instagram, and then TikTok, which I try to stay away from, is just Jordan Sullivan Dietitian. It's a bit too young for me, but we're on there.
Yeah. You also have a podcast, right, on YouTube?
Yeah, we've got a podcast called Performance That Matters is our new one. We've got the Fight Science podcast, a whole bunch of free science information for fighters. And we've got Performance That Matters. That's a bit more broad if you're a bit more into sports science and exercise nutrition and all of that. And then we've got Performance That Matters, where we kind of talk to experts and they share a bunch of info for free.
Bro, hell yeah. Oh, and also for the fans watching this who liked this podcast, man, also I suggest that y'all go and watch his podcast with Andy Galpin as well. It's like about 3 hours of way more in-depth detail than what we just gave you. You know, we're just scraping the surface. Y'all are way more in-depth about that. And if you want to know more about the science of everything that has to do with everything that he does, I suggest y'all go watch that podcast as well. But man, this has been your boy Noah, your host, and his co-host, the Casual T Will.
Yes, sir.
And of course, Mr. Jordan Sullivan, the Fight Dietitian, for episode 76 of The Will versus the Way. And we out. Peace. What's up, villains? New episodes of The Will versus the Way Uncensored MMA podcast drop weekly. Make sure to check out our most recent episodes and latest interviews that we've had on the channel. Thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.